Okay, to make our foliage mats, we're going to need a good spray adhesive. I happen to have some of this 3M Super 77, but any one will work for you. You'll need a generous size container full of ground foam of different sizes, colors, consistencies, and so on to your own taste. Along with a plastic cup, makes it handy to pour the ground foam on the polyfiber. You're going to need polyfiber. I prefer black. I think it looks better with the shadows. You could use green or try to dye some. I understand it's difficult to do. Make sure you pull it very thin as possible, without tearing it. It doesn't matter the shape or the size of the different pads. This is definitely going to get messy. It doesn't hurt to have an apron, wear old clothes. Make sure you do this outside. You'll need a glove to hold the polyfiber while you're spraying it with the adhesive. I just use these old yellow cheap ones I got at the grocery store. Spray the piece of polyfiber liberally with the spray adhesive on both sides. Don't worry about getting coverage completely the first time. Immediately after spraying, just drop the polyfiber in the ground foam. Use your cup there to sprinkle foam onto it and press the foam down into the polyfiber, turning it over and making sure you get as good coverage as you can get. Don't worry if you don't get complete coverage, because we're going to repeat this step here if necessary. You don't always have to put a second coat of adhesive on, but I do, just to cover the spots that I missed the first time around, especially where I was holding the poly to spray the adhesive on it. In this case, I did give it a second coat of adhesive, and so back in the foam it goes to sprinkle some more on there and press it down to cover the spots I missed the first time around. And here's an example of a finished pad that has the ground foam added to it. If you press it down harder, it will make it thinner and more compact. Less compression makes it a little more fluffy and airy looking. So it's totally up to you on how you want these to look based on that. So here you can see where I've already been working and put down some of the foliage pads, and the area is yet to be covered there and painted in brown. It's not a very difficult process. I do use hot glue guns. You could use other type of adhesives, but I like the instant grab of hot glue. So the first thing we'll do is get everything ready to get the job going here. Well, of course, we're going to need some foliage pads and different shapes and sizes, so I try to choose ones that are going to fit the area where I'm working, and you can always, of course, cut them as necessary. I'm also going to need the same ground foam we used to make the pads to put down on areas where the black's showing through, where joints or other areas where we don't have coverage. I'm going to use my hot glue gun to attach the foam pads. You could use other adhesive, but I like the quick tack of the hot glue. To fill in the areas where the black poly is showing, I'm going to use a non-scented aerosol pump style cheap hairspray. That's the best to be able to use without getting overspray in the train room. You can see where I've already installed some pads, and I'm going to start by putting a pad out here and getting a rough measurement for it. These pads and the measurements don't have to be exact, but this particular case I need to cut along this line here in order to get this to fit between these two sets of tracks. I'm just going to use a standard set of scissors to make the cut here. It doesn't have to be exact, and we'll just kind of speed this up. You don't have to see the whole thing in regular speed there, so we'll get it cut where we need it. And of course, save what you cut off there. You can probably use it in some other area, even if you have to patch it together. So just test fit that. Looks like it's pretty good. And the next thing we're going to do is just take and fit it there. Looks like it'll be all right. And what I'll do next is to be able to trim off the edge here. I do have a little bit of an overlap. Again, don't have to be exact, but it does help to cut that beforehand. I'll just wipe away any extra ground foam there that's loose, and I'm going to run a bead of hot glue just right along the track here, closest to me. Just one simple bead. I don't glue the whole thing down because the whole idea is this is temporary and I can pull it up as necessary and then be able to use it somewhere else. So you put that first bead down there, and then the next thing you need to do is to position it in place. You'll notice I put it on edge here at a right angle and push it down into the glue, and then as I lower it down I start tacking it, holding it down. This is where hot glue is nice because it does do the instant grab. And also, it's where I found out that hot glue is hot for a reason. They call it hot glue for a reason, as I burned my fingertips. Probably wouldn't hurt to use some gloves here to be able to do this. So I'll just put that in place, tack it in there, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, since this piece is a little bit wider than the area between the tracks, when I put it in here, it's going to naturally create a little hill, which is a very nice feature because you don't have to go in and put under things in to make that hill. So I'll put it here, and as I push it back down, I'm going to tuck it underneath to help the black to hide there underneath the area. And again, push it down with my fingers gently, trying not to burn myself because I'm too lazy to go get my gloves. And just go back in there and push that and take care of that. So that's all tacked in place, and that piece is pretty well set. Now naturally, we're going to have some areas where the black shows between joints, and I'm going to use my hairspray to wet that area. And you want to wet it down pretty well. Again, it's nice to have the non-aerosol. It doesn't get all over everything. And then because I did bring in my same foam I used to make the polymats, I'll take that and apply it to the area where I put the hairspray. Now you could use a cup or something for that, but I found it was probably easier just to sprinkle it on with my fingers, and that way you could better control how much you get on here. The whole idea is just to blend the two areas together and to cover up any black. And you'll have other areas of black, not where the joints are, but other areas where they just didn't get coverage during that. Pat it down. If you want, you can add more hairspray on top of this just to set it in and make sure that it's there to stay. So I just continue across the area, repeating that process, gluing the pieces down and then using the hairspray and the loose foam to go ahead and blend the two together. It goes very quickly, and I like the way it looks too because it gives you quite a bit of different terrain here, especially if you do bulge it up in the center there to make hills. Here's some video of the finished area. Using polyfiber mats is a quick and easy way to do scenery on your layout. That can be temporary or permanent. I hope you found the video useful. If you have any questions or comments, please post them to the Model Railroad Hobbyist website. Thanks for watching.